need to get into the picks for these two teams because, of course, there have been iconic ones already this year.
Yep.
Zilean is one of the first champions that Cloud9 used to dig themselves out of 10th place in the North American LCS Summer Split.
And Cloud9 have definitely made one thing clear ever since, I believe, the third game of that play-ins final. They have banned Tahm Kench on blue side and red side every game. They don't miss a trick with that here, and they will actually ban the Akali on blue side as well.
Yep, 11 Tahm Kench bans in a row for Cloud9. We'll see if that continues on throughout this series, as I'm really not surprised by almost any of the Afreeca bans as well. The Zilean and Nocturne choice bans against Cloud9's preferred play style and Jensen's arguably best mid laner, but now my first pick, Aatrox, is allowed for Licorice.
Yeah, and we expect Licorice to hold on to it, even though it's traditionally very flexible between the mid lane. It's almost always gone to Licorice for Cloud9.
And if we don't see a first-round top laner, will we see Keen with one of his homebrew answers to the Aatrox? Usually, it's Cloud9 that has those. Of course, the Hecarim, very famous. Even the Poppy is one they've played. When it comes to Keen, and you think of quintessential Keen champions, the Swift pushers like the Jax, he also loves the Darius, who we haven't seen this tournament. Tricky matchup for the Darius, but given the player, an outside possibility.
It definitely will say a lot about the game plan for Afreeca Freecs, depending on which route they go. If they go the Poppy, having that standard tank for the front line, trying to play front to back. But as you say, they very well could go for a more punishing 1v1 and try and win the split.
I would expect to see Keen on a 1v1 champion up in that top lane. Xin Zhao to be locked in for Svenskeren, and Cloud9 have to decide if they want some other high priority champions. Kai'Sa and Xayah, two big ones up there. We know one of the support's been taken off the table. That could be an easy pinch for Afreeca in the second ban phase.
Want to point to something that's unlikely to come out, but given Afreeca's reputation should be thought of. You look at Afreeca's draft and say, okay, you're not going to be flexing this Gragas, you've already taken Alistar. Gragas top was meta for a while, going for a very armor-centric build, something like an Iceborne Gauntlet. There is always the outside chance you go for a big fake out here and go for a very late jungler or top laner, depending on the scenario.
The only drawback for Afreeca Freecs is that their single game, Freak was mentioning, with the tank, the Scion, was probably their worst game. The worst performance from Keen himself. So maybe they will divert from this route. Second round of ban phase will come in, and the marksman has not been matched. This is huge because Afreeca Freecs can dump more bans into Sneaky, who has struggled in the group stage as far as the laning phase does go.
And we've definitely largely seen him just grab Kai'Sa and try to make it work one way or the other. His Kai'Sa win rate is very high. Notably hasn't taken it in the first round. Afreeca Freecs are wanting this game to go long based on how they've played so far at this tournament. Cloud9 might want Kai'Sa as late game insurance, saying, okay, if it's a very low kill, farming early game, showing up with a 3-item Kai'Sa, you feel pretty good.
Well, one of the big things about Cloud9 has been their mid lane here, and you're seeing Afreeca ban away some of the blind mids that could be safe, like Ryze, and Cloud9 trying to set up what the counterpick would be with their Galio ban.
Yeah, as far as more mid lane bans come through, we should also go over the possible counters that have already been picked up. Let's explain Cloud9's Braum pick here at the end of Phase 2 in response to the Gragas. The Unbreakable Shield from Braum does a very good job at denying some of the big playmaking from Gragas. You can pop the ultimate in the air to stop that big teamfight utility.
And he even holds the feathers back and stops that from the root caller. And given, of course, Sneaky's struggle against Xayah earlier in this tournament against Uzi, anything you can do to help out, very much appreciated.
Now this looks like a little Blanc setup for Cloud9 right now with the Galio and Lissandra bans. That's the setup it looks like for me. So does Kuro blind it first, seeing the bans come through, and then make actually Jensen react here? And that's just, I think, a smart reaction to what the bans would be. But no, they give him safe wave clear. Victor, to me, is like the quintessential Kuro champion. Put him on a damage mage, you're gonna wave clear forever.
Before there was Crown, there was Kuro, who was that big Victor player, but he hasn't really played it recently. LeBlanc can be opted into in this lane as well.
Already starting out with some Vintage Rocks Tiger Kuro here showing up on the world stage, and now it is time for Cloud9 to answer with a lane-dominant 80 carry big for Sneaky himself. Brahmin Lucian classic combination, going for early stunts. You can quickly proc the passive and possibly go for those kills early.
And that LeBlanc is being hovered here. So despite the fact that we have had 0 bot lane marksman banned, it is Xayah versus Lucian in the bottom lane. And whoa, that is a Kassadin coming through. So Victor flexing top, Kassadin fighting LeBlanc, and that is Greg in the jungle.
They got him with the little flash of the LeBlanc there. Bit of a bait, bit of a challenge. And now we're going to see Keen on his mage in the top side can absolutely outrange this Aatrox and harass him.
Come on, Kobe, this bait is master tier on this team. We wondered about the Gragas flex, but no, the Victor is actually the bait. And this is going to try to farm it out, like you mentioned, against the Aatrox.
Huge, huge switch here from Afreeca Freecs, as expected. The hidden picks already coming out. So let's see what they do with the double mages, though, because this is going to be very important how their bottom lane does do. If Kramer isn't a factor, then it'll become much more difficult.
And going to Freak's point earlier about what changed this year, bringing in Keen and Licorice coming in, remember that the coaching staff of Afreeca changed this year as well. Quintessential 5th place team, Comet joins, Zephyr, the drafting coach of the Korean national team. They both join, and the results go way up, and that is also something that needs to be remembered, and it's being reflected in this first best-of-5 draft.
Well, Victor up in the top lane versus Aatrox. I love pocket pick counter picks. See, Licorice thought he could bring up Hecarim and say, I can beat Aatrox as champion. Victor is the bring up here for Keen, running Klepto, as you would imagine, in a rangeless melee matchup. This is going to be exciting.
I see the big advantage for Victor as I'm going through this matchup in my head. Once, especially, you get the speed boost off of your Q. But you're not going to start out with that. So maybe in the early game, we will have jungler attention up there. We'll see how Cloud9 can actually deal with this wild card, because you need to be ready for things like this in this best-of-5.
Well, here we are on to Summoner's Rift, the last hope of South Korea versus the only hope of North America, as Afreeca Freecs are the last remaining South Korean team here at the World Championship. And Cloud9 represent 5 of 6 quarterfinal berths for NA since 2012. And let's see what can come through here as we get ourselves back onto Summoner's Rift for the first match of the day.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
Just some insane innovation here, especially on the Afreeca side. Like you mentioned, Klepto trades with the Q auto, going to be the big thing for Keen. Usually when you take Kassadin, you drop wave clear, you kind of sack that as something you have. But Victor, Xayah, if they are grouped, can actually be fantastic wave clear in and of themselves.
Also, in the early game here, LeBlanc can definitely harass Kassadin. Kassadin gains so much more power as the matchup goes on and closer to that level 6. So we'll see about the early game here, because it is double AP solo laners with an AP jungler. That's one of the things I was cautioning against here with Kramer needing to find success. Otherwise, these solo lanes of Cloud9 can just build early magic resist to protect them from both their laning opponent as well as the enemy jungler. But I think Afreeca definitely ready for that. They've got that as part of the planning. Starting bottom side here for Spirit on the Gragas might actually go top side to protect this Victor early, which we kind of expected was the only opening that Cloud9 might try and take.
And to me, that's that cautionary tale of, we can think of, okay, you get the speed boost, the Q trades, the Kleptomancy sounds perfect. Very, very gankable top lane champion, and Xin Zhao has that targeted ability to close the distance. No Ghost Power down, but a late ward goes down by King.
And you saw Licorice at the start of the game did not leash. He instead made the wave push. He grouped up the minions and is going to force this wave to push down. So it will be under Licorice's turret, and Keen cannot stop that from happening.
I'm almost very curious as well about the build that Keen decides to go for with this Victor. You can go semi-tank with Victor very easily. You know, getting a shield from Seraphs, or some people even going as far as Frozen Heart. But we'll have to see how it does develop. If he wants to be a full AP threat, or maybe a mid-line mage there and toe the line.
And I'm sure you remember, Kobe, because in the NA solo queue, there was, of course, the first footwork and Iceborne Gauntlet rush on Victor that was popular for a bit earlier in the year, late last year. It's mid lane.
The flash in the mid lane going for Kuro right away. He can't get away from the chain. Ignite is on, and first blood for Jensen under 3 minutes.
The early game, that's why we caution here for Cloud9. They attack the Kassadin pre-level 6, flash is blown from Kuro. He does have teleport, so after this death, he can teleport back out, but Svenskeren might decide to camp that. If I was him, I'd just return to the mid lane. Spirit right now has opted to go topside instead, and the junglers are going to converge.
And they found the first knockup, so Keen has to outplay this one. However, there's a jungler right there. Spirit shows up. TP burning as well. They've traded on a Licorice already in the top lane, and it's now Sven forced to win. But Kuro did not need to finish that TP. He has no lane to farm.
Who actually comes to, I assume, finish off the kill if there was any actual attempt by Xin Zhao. There isn't. He walks down to the mid lane. Not a lot lost there. Nice counter gank from Spirit.
Pretty brazen attempt there from Svenskeren to go immediately from a mid lane gank into a top lane gank. And a great punishment from Afreeca now on the bottom side, going for a bit of trade.
Just keeps happening. The stun goes off on Alistair. Tucson down to about 300 HP, and that is a pretty heavy trade. C9 comes out ahead.
So the top lane now for Afreeca Freecs looking very good. Keen even got a fort pot from his Kleptomancy, which gives him much more HP as well as some AD to try and lane with and harass. Spirit now, though, is on the warpath. The junglers will not stop.
This is a very aggressive game. He's going to be right behind. The nice flash, pulverize forward. Ignite is on. They're going to keep Sneaky alive for a bit. Nice flash for the body slam. Beautiful play for Spirit, and the kill goes to Tucson.
This game is dead even in gold right now. Both junglers firing away over and over. Now Svenskeren reveals himself on a ward as he was trying to go back to mid lane, but this is big for bottom.
And one of the big reasons you don't expect Spirit to be playing like this, as Zeyzor wants to freeze up the minions as much as possible, is he still doesn't have a keystone. He hasn't bought. Usually we see 4 camps into backing, buying boots, and having your Predator online. That's 2 successful ganks, one a counter gank, one a proactive gank with no buy.
Ooh, they might be looking at Keen right here. The wave is slowly stacking up, and Svenskeren's going to edge through to block out the minions. The mid lane are coming up as well.
Yep, they know that nobody else can make it from bottom lane in time, so he's showing early here. Keen does have flash. Let's see if he can outplay.
He's got to outplay the 1 versus 3 as Jensen shows up with a little bit of mana here, and the jump is forward. Liquor's going to pull aggro and Sven to deal the damage, and the pull back in. Liquor's going to drop aggro, a quick kill on the top side. Now Svenskeren's on the board, 2-2.
Cloud9 now overloaded 3 members on the top side of the map as Afreeca are trying to reset. They push out bottom side as well, and this should be the first break in the game that we get.
0.4 champion kills per minute. That means on both sides for the Afreeca Freecs before this, we already have 4 kills in 5 minutes. This is very much both teams adapting to expectations, I think, that were differing on both sides. Will this last the entire best of 5? That's a little bit harder to see, but for game number 1, action everywhere.
Viewers at home that have been watching the 2018 Worlds will be accustomed to a fairly quick pace increasing over the course of this tournament, and this one, no different. Now, we are getting to the point where Kassadin here, mid lane, Koro, is getting to his level 6 and will be able to actually have some agency. He is down severely in CS because of the teleport that he used topside to try and protect Keen, but that will change over the course of this game.
Keen has been able to pick up his first evolution on that Hex score. Remember, got cheaper in patches recently with 100 gold down early. You want to know about top lane Victor and have some fun in solo queue, here are the runes. Time Warp Tonic and Biscuiteer to get through any sort of trades in lane, and he does go for the mana flow ban. So basically those Q auto trades are definitely giving him a whole lot of reward.
And of course he did max Q and evolve Q first, so it is very much about the shield and single target damage, less so the wave clear.
Exactly what we were thinking with the speed boost. Speed's so important in any Aatrox matchup to allow you to try and dodge those Q sweet spots.
And remember, you can actually get the Q movement speed whether you use it on a champion or onto a minion, and you can use it twice in an escape potentially. So a lot of ability there to kite, but doesn't mean necessarily it's going to be any less susceptible to ganks when his flash is down.
Yeah, the shield does also build up and scale with mana, so you mentioned the mana flow ban. You can also build into some more mana later, but currently Cloud9 on the bottom half of the map, now turning their eyes towards this blue buff. It'll be a smite fight.
It's going to be a collapse as well, a potential 4v4 as the move goes back and forth. 1 level lead. No, it's going to be picked up right away by Svenskeren. Now back over the wall. This could be a bit of a fight. A stun towards the Alistair. Will they engage on a Tucson? As the blade color's down, they're going to jump right and forward, and the damage is going to be there. Spirit's going to drop a 1-for-0, and the chase continues. Kuro over the wall. Will they chase? That answer is no, but a Gromp is going to be picked up as well. Now we watch the top side as Licorice battles for the first time 1v1 against Keen, and look at the damage coming through. The Q is on for cooldown, and so Keen can re-engage without those blades hitting him again.
Both of these top laners saving their ultimates, though. They know that everyone else was revealed on the bottom side of the map, so it's a pure 1v1. Neither of them committing too hard.
And if there is a flash all-in from this Aatrox on one of those Qs, not a lot of base stats behind the Victor. So a lot of mind games around the flash usage between the Aatrox and the Victor.
So we once again settle down for a little bit. An 1,100 gold lead for Cloud9, including a steal on the blue buff. We can watch this 4v4 in the jungle again.
All right, here's the invade. They get the blue buff. Then, after they get the stun onto Tucson, he's down to 50% HP. C9 makes the call to charge in on the 3 members that are separated from Kramer. No damage comes out of Zaya on that because he's across the wall.
I feel like that's the sort of skirmish where if level 6s were up, it is Afreeca Freecs favored, but Alistair can't occupy spaces. Bot lane.
Low under Kramer has the ulti, gonna dodge away for a little bit, but a jump forward's gonna mean the first time the knockup and another kill. 4-2 Cloud9.
Lightning quick pace in this game. Sven Skaren has been a monster. Gank after gank after gank in Cloud9 running the early game now.
The degree of difficulty of disengaging a gank when it's so much targeted CC and auto attacks with a Braum means basically the first CC skill lands, someone dies.
Oh, keep your eyes open though, folks, because Spirit on the Gragas just went
He's
for
not 6! Tucson's really low, this could be a dive and a kill, and he's got him! Stinky, a solo kill under the turret!
Stinky Lucian is able to get the 1v1 on the level 5 support. I don't know if Tucson's cooldown on Flash was about to come up. That looked very close.
They're going to look at the mid lane now again. Kuro has Flash this time, gets away from it. Ignite is there. They land the chain. One more auto. That should be it with Ignite. And he takes them down. Solo kills all over the place for Cloud9.
Big moments for Cloud9. This is feeling more and more like Afreeca Freecs in the first 3 games before they got things together. This is not the slow pace they're used to. And in trying to catch up and keep tempo with Cloud9, they're dying left, right, and center.
Afreeca Freecs come out with the planning and the lane swap here for a victor coming to the top side into the Aatrox matchup, but Cloud9 come out with pure brutality, gank after gank after gank, and they are finding the kills.
And this is the time they need to prosper because scaling-wise, a lot to like about Afreeca Freecs as the game goes on. Specifically the Lucian, the LeBlanc, so strong early to mid-game. Don't necessarily fall away, but you would say Afreeca favored with the Kassadin in the late game, yet at this point, it's the better part of a 3,000 gold lead for C9.
And in addition, the Kassadin being held to 50 CS at 10 minutes here. That is absolute denial from the mid lane, Jensen, because indeed there was also a mid lane gank at level 2. There was also Kuro then afterwards using his teleport to the top lane. But if you give Jensen an opening like that, over and over, we have seen this player, even on the world stage, absolutely demolish opponents.
And his stats certainly back it up. Second round Robin, those 3-0 into 3-1 scoreline for Cloud9 on the day. His CSD goes up the better part of 16. Gonna go up way more with this game, including that sample size. Cloud9, they're not done.
We're looking at round 2 under the turret right here. They got a slow into Kramer. Kramer does still have his summoners. A big stun to the front line. Trying back forward. Into the dive they go, but Kramer stays alive, and here comes the teleports as the reinforcements have arrived, and Afreeca Freecs gonna push C9 right back out of that one.
See if they get a full retreat here. They have been able to do it. Cloud9 also setting up another counter.
They're going to find a slow bit onto Spirit, but watch out for the rest of this one. It's still 4 strong, and Afreeca could turn the corner. However, it's C9 keeping them stuck inside this turret area.
Yeah, look at the harassment. Chunks in the health bar on Afreeca Freecs side, but no answer. All Cloud9 members still healthy, and that will allow them the objective.
They're playing bottom side, controlling that area, and the Kassadin is not battle ready yet, with basically no items. He's only got the Catalyst and a bit of magic resist. So given that, at the top of the map, we were seeing Keen finally out-trade Licorice and keep him a bit more accountable under lane, but definitely bot side. The Drake is free and the turret dies. They will be repeated again and again by Cloud9.
And honestly, it should just be the turret take right now for Cloud9. They have got so much pressure on bottom side that Afreeca Freecs have already swapped their dual lane up to the top side. Licorice, though, could be punished if he goes aggressive now.
Pop his ult to not get one shot, and in fact, he will get the ulti turned off, and he'll revive with about 400, 500 health right there, and staying alive. Nice getting away by Jensen there as Body Slam Flash came through, but did not land the target. That's a great explosive cast, though. Jensen needs the cooldowns back, does get over the wall, stays alive through a flash and an ultimate.
And Jensen holds on to his own flash. Spirit using everything he has in his arsenal there, and yet unable to get any meaningful cooldowns. Top side of Afreeca Freecs will answer with a turret of their own, trying to get some gold back for themselves.
Want to wave this one as far as possible. Braum is walking up, but Lucian was still, of course, in the bot lane. So that, yes, as you mentioned, Kobe, given the scenario with Ultimates down on Tucson and Kramer.
No local gold.
I think they were afraid of Lucian being there as well,
Yeah.
so half the value of that turret just disappeared. 250 only for that turret kill.
Yep, you have to stay within range of the turret going down. At least one member of the team or the gold just goes into the ground.
All right, let's check in with Keen's item build. He has 2 evolves onto the Hex Core. The Sheen might signal the Ice One Gauntlet we were alluding to earlier. I don't think Trinity Force Victor is coming out of this game, so given
Lichbane
that,
could be good too.
Lichbane could be good too, you're right.
Yeah, we'll see what comes through into that one. Either way, though, he's certainly going for the 1v1 focused build. That makes sense for Keen here. He's going to try to kite around through Licorice as he's jumping back forward, but Licorice has a long way to go to get back to his base, and Keen is fast. Forcing the flash over the wall, Licorice having to run away.
Yeah, good use of the speed boost here on display from Keen. Constant harassment with the Sheen procs over and over. That's what they were thinking with this entire setup of Champion Select. But will it be enough to get them back into this game?
It's definitely a tables a turn moment for Licorice because he's usually on the side of the matchup that he knows better. Hecarim into Aatrox is always going to favor the Hecarim player. When you go for this off-meta pick, when you innovate, you always have an experience advantage. So nice to see, even though it hasn't really translated into too much for Keen just yet.
Well, either way, I do really appreciate the mid-game plays of Afreeca Freecs. They were losing in so many of their lanes, especially that bot lane 2-on-2, and they've managed to make turret trade after turret trade, top for bot, now bot for top as well. The question is, though, if mid lane tier 2 gets taken down, then they've maybe bitten off more than they can chew. Another trade on the mid side, forcing a flash away.
Oh.
Otherwise, it was an equal trade of turrets.
Jensen has full run of this lane. Kuro has nowhere safe to go. Sneaky taking down another turret on top side for Cloud9, and the territory for Afreeca Freecs continues to shrink.
And it also doesn't really play into what we were expecting, the Cassidy last pick, because Cassidy's seen as a containment matchup where you go decent against Elbong. You're not going to win, but your trades are usually pretty good with Q. Has gone way off script. It's an insane lead, 62 CS at 14 minutes.
And countdown, 2, 1, largest CSD at 15 of Worlds this year. This has been the most lopsided mid lane matchup in Farm, and meanwhile, Kramer, having to run away, has a blast on over that one, but he brings Sinjao with him. The dive forward, the knockup onto the both of them. That's going to be 1 kill picked up, and the stun onto the turret. Tucson will get away.
We have seen some quick games here at Worlds, but Cloud9 are absolutely making a good case for themselves. In game number 1 of this quarterfinal matchup, Zeyzal and Sneaky will be able to get out. Rift Herald has been used. They want to get the last outer turret.
There's no reason to give Afreeca Freecs any lifelines. You want to keep pushing, you want to keep pressuring, ensure this game ends before Cassidy has 200 CS, before Afreeca Freecs as a team has 40,000 gold. They're at 22,000 now, and the 1-item, 2-item power spikes are all favored to C9.
Things looking good for the 3rd straight upset in the quarterfinals. Yesterday, both of the lower seeds won their matchup. C9, the lower seed here today. Afreeca Freecs chose red to go for champ select antics. We see that with the Victor top, and though the matchup has looked good for Keen, it's been the bot lane 2-on-2, the jungle matchup, and the mid lane matchup that have been going Cloud9's way here, has looked for more ways to advantage themselves in this mid game.
All right, we need to put ourselves in Afreeca Freecs' shoes and try and find a way out of this disastrous early game. First, we'll go through this replay, though, and it's going to be a rough one for Kramer, as he's able to use his ultimate, and they do get the blast cone, getting some distance, but Zeyzal, no hesitation, flash in with Braum to finish off the kill onto the marks.
All summoners are up because there's been no pressure on C9 to use them defensively, can use them offensively for kills. To begin your point though, Kobe, I think what we always talk about in these defensive macro situations where you look at your team and say, okay, right now we're a bit like paper, we're definitely a bit susceptible. We like our scaling is getting as much of a defensive control ward line as possible and then trying to grow it. Right now, maybe it's too risky to take your Raptors, so you put your control wards a bit more shallow, but as you find more and more space on the map, you push them up and you try not to give away Baron, which fortunately for Afreeca has not spawned yet.
Exactly, another bonus of this pick.
Oh, here we go. That's a huge one. 3v3 in the mid lane, a lot of damage in the Zeyzal. Trade it back now to Tucson as well. And now here comes the evisceration as it's Svenskar and forced run away, gets a knockup, still on a kite. He's not going down just yet. They get the trade kill. It's actually Kuro going down 1-for-0 as Sven will not burn down.
Kuro just did no damage at all to the Sinjao. His Rod of Ages has to stack. He's nowhere on the map, and Afreeca find nothing from a big investment.
That's the problem with this theory. Cassidy can outscale LeBlanc if given equal income, but he has not been allowed any gold in this game. Absolutely held to scraps. And with those scraps, he cannot fight back. Blue buff now under contest.
Ooh, one hit away from stunning Keen. He's not going to hit just yet. Now in comes Jensen, but has to come right back out. That was a potential stun out of Victor. Blue buff steal still happens. Infernal Drake alive, and Svenskeren easily solos that one. And Cloud9 grow their lead to 7,000 plus 2 Drakes.
Yeah, we have seen very clearly here, name of the game has to be defense for Afreeca Freecs if they want any hope of coming back in this opening game.
But they keep trying to make a proactive defense by trying to find fights and just don't have the damage behind them to pull it off. A ward at the Gromp is the only siding ward, and Keen has no idea that his life is vacant.
He had a flash, burns it there, now he's running away, but the knockups are in, so there might not be the way out. The stun's gonna land, pulled right back, and another kill, his third, Svenskeren.
An ominous vision toggle there by the observers. Well done, as it really conveys the story of how scary it is to play from the Afreeca Freecs side right now. Cloud9 is a war machine, and they are not on stopping.
And you have to make these kind of poor swaps here for Afreeca and say, Keen, you take the risky assignment, at least Kuro will get some farm topside while your life is very much in peril. It feels bad. It definitely doesn't allow Afreeca any real movement on the gold numbers, which are still going to be heavily Cloud9 favored. But this game is really now at the point where Afreeca are at the whims of Cloud9. And if Cloud9 make the right proactive calls, Afreeca don't actually have the weaponry to contest a war.
Well, it's going to take some time for Afreeca to come back. Thankfully for them, of course, it is a best of 5. You can drop a game and still come back. We've seen every series so far at Worlds go the full distance here in the quarterfinals, and today might be no different no matter what game 1 may look like. Baron coming up in 23 seconds. That is surely going to be on C9's menu here as they put the wards down in the river.
Completely different story here in the best of 5. Adaptation is so big. The window's still definitely open, and still C9 do need to close this loop. Baron hasn't even spawned yet. They do have complete control. They should be able to set up the vision in this red quadrant and allow them fairly easy use of this objective. However, you still have to take those steps, especially in a series like this.
Yeah, the defensive setup will continue for Afreeca. As we were talking about when it comes to vision lines, it can't even control that Raptor brush at present. Svenskeren in the most advanced brush on top side. You have to be this respectful when Cloud9 have basically won 8 out of 9 early skirmishes, and there have been plenty of early skirmishes. Afreeca set up though, and even a catch to relieve pressure will be big, but every time they've attempted that, they've been repelled super well by Cloud9.
The ward's just continually going down. They can't see much more than just the very beginning of the outside of their base as top lane is pushed in. C9 moves back into mid here, trying to push the people away, but there's a headbutt pulverize in, and the fight continues now on the front side in front of tier 2. Ult comes in for Keen as well, and Cloud9 going to disengage, but send a few back forward, and knock down Tucson 1 for 0. Explosive cast brings in, and that's going to be 1 kill picked up, a 1 for 1 so far. The revival coming out soon for Licorice, but it's already Keen dropping as C9 are up 2-1 in this team fight. They can walk right back away easily.
Yeah, the objective doesn't go down. The turret still stands, but Jensen's not done.
He wants it chunked down, and he does! Takes out Kramer, 3-1 in the team fight, and that turret's gonna fall as well.
Individual moments like that are game breakers when this game is really, really in the advantage of C9. Jensen gets the individual outplay to just put that exclamation point on another positive trade for C9.
Jensen has been a player criticized for big moments in the North American LCS, but here in the world stage, we're going to get another look at this play from Cloud9.
Watch the replay here as it goes through. Tucson tries once again to be proactive. The issue is that even through his ultimate, he's not tanky enough, and there's not 2-item spikes on anyone on the side of Afreeca.
Yeah, this is clearly Cloud9 with the giant gold advantage. Licorice does teleport it in and finish off Keen here, then popping the revive off of the Blade Caller. As you know, this is not over, and there is more to this replay. Jensen out of the side, able to find Kramer. He knows that the Kramer has no cooldowns left. Now the chain, that does look crazy when LeBlanc goes back to different spots on the map, but the chain goes straight from where you shot it. So he knows in his heart, as soon as he shoots it, point blank range, right into the Xayah, that thing's gonna land no matter where he goes.
That was definitely a bend it like Jensen moment, because that was very impressive. Look at the top here, following on with the Freak stat earlier, this is C9 really fully rampaging through Afreeca. mental reset is not usually a word we use for game number 2 of a best of 5, but already it has to be something to levy at Afreeca Freecs, given how dominant C9 have been.
Garrett going for a face check.
1 versus 2, knocks him back, has a blast cone, gets away.
And Cloud9 causing North American fans to dare to hope. This story of Cloud9 this year is absolutely amazing. This team subbing out star players in the summer split, falling to 10th place in the North American LCS, and have fought their way hurdle after hurdle, problem after problem, all the way to the quarterfinals here at Worlds. And with this improvement that we have seen at each stage, they don't look like they're going to stop anytime soon.
The team that dares to dream biggest at Worlds has largely prospered. C9 looking for a couple of picks to break the base.
Jensen goes in, nice job getting away from Headbutt Pulverize. Cooldown for about 8 seconds there for TUSIN, but that won't signal an opening for Cloud9 just yet. They're just going to push in this lane, but they are still setting up around this Baron. You know they can.
You know a team's being suffocated where 4 members have actually switched over to the blue trinket just to spot a brush because they know they can't stick control wards even outside their base at any moment. They need as much spot vision as possible with Baron on the menu very soon.
All right, looks like we may have another fight over vision. Kuro does Rift Walk out though before Cloud9 can close the loop. We do have a Predator activation, but I don't think they want any fight.
There'll be a couple of ward kills here as Cloud9 knocks down the few that were able to be put down from the Sight Stone there. But Blast Cone means it's C9 into the Baron pit, and they're going to try right now, leaving Zeyzal and Jensen to zone out the squad as 2 of them knock down Baron.
Important that Jensen already has a Banshee's Veil completion here on the LeBlanc, providing him immunity when he goes for harassment. We'll see if Afreeca Freecs can get in there. Baron, though, going to regenerate as they have to pull off with only 2 members starting in.
TUSIN has to lose the ultimate as 3 of the blue triggers were used trying to spot out Baron. Now the knock is going to land, but only onto the tankiest member of the team. Will they burn him down? A great cast pulls him back, but so does the W from Licorice. And another kill comes in for Cloud9, 13-3, and once again, they can turn to Baron.
Double chains here. Licorice and Jensen both ensuring that TUSIN will go down, and now Cloud9 can return to the objective.
The cost of Afreeca going for these 3 blue trinkets, they only have 1 sweeper, he's dead, and thus they have no idea if C9 know where they're at.
How much can Afreeca be pushed away from this one? His health bar's getting a little bit lower, but look at that explosion! Keno's already dead, he only built armor, and Baron is a formality, 14-3, a 12,000 gold lead, and Cloud9 can look at the base now.
You gotta love it when a plan comes together, even though Afreeca's best hopes were at spotting that Baron HP. It didn't matter in the end. C9 were happy to see them come to them, and now with the Baron buff, they just want to wreck the base on this first Baron buff push.
Cloud9 starting to go Super Saiyan here over the course of Worlds. 25 minutes in, they've got Baron buff, and they are looking to finish the Afreeca Freecs.
And they're going to look at it right now as the inhibitor is under fire. There will not be a defense. A good ult for Kramer. Gets away from an assassination that had happened 5 minutes ago, but the base is still falling. Top inhib is gone. The middle going to lose its turret on top of this one. So C9, when do they get stopped? It's almost certainly not in this game. 26 minutes in, they're looking at the Nexus turrets already, but first, a quick reset to buy with their thousands of gold in inventory and take that one last death blow.
Now, best of 5 is truly a marathon, but the first leg of the marathon definitely going in the favor of Cloud9, and we start to think about the adaptations and what they will be going to game number 2 as we watch Jensen here on the LeBlanc going for pure harassment. Zeyzal and Licorice just keep up the chase. Even through the extra damage reduction of the Alistar ultimate, they know as long as they pull him back, they will be able to finish off the kill.
Now, the problem with your metaphor is that I would want to call this a sprint, but it's more like Cloud9 was sprinting and Afreeca Freecs had a medical emergency it had to pull out because this game has been decided very early in it. Hard to say what the comms are, but the moment you're seeing Jensen nuke 4 out of 5 members of the Afreeca Freecs, they had to know their chances were slim. Another Drake is added to the pile. It may not be a perfect game, but 3 kills and 2 of the turrets is all Afreeca Freecs have to show from game number 1.
So this should be C9 closing it out here as they send their members back across the map, most of them down to the bottom lane to push in for the last bit.
For so long, the state of League of Legends has been largely based around team fighting and 5-on-5, but as we've drawn closer and closer to Worlds, with these small changes to the rules of the game, it has really favored those taking early moves in the game, those looking for individual outplays, and now Cloud9, they're looking to finish this first game.
27-30 in, bot lane being sieged by Jensen. The rest of the team in the mid lane, nice look back, and they might make down Sneaky, and they will. 1-for-0. This could be the last stand for Afreeca as they dive into the backline, but Jensen's already picked off the marksman down there. Kuro's got to pop Azonia's hourglass. Tucson is going to drop as well, turned into ground beef, and the chase continues with 3 surviving members, but there's minions inside the base, and the trade kills are coming through. The minions as 6-man might just be enough. Afreeca trying to survive, but their base can't run away. It can't heal, and the attacks come through, and the 3 surviving members of Cloud9 will take game 1.
Powerful opener here from the Cloud9 squad. And Afreeca Freecs are left to adjust, already turning their eyes towards game number 2.
I like the adjustment they attempted. They were trying to be tricky in the draft. The Victor side of the coin was actually quite strong. Issue is, the last pick Gambit was the Kassadin, and he fell too far behind after that first initial gank. So it felt like the fallbacks for this innovative strategy were not adequate, and other little issues meant that Cloud9 really steamrolled Afreeca in game number 1.
Cloud9 have shown that every member of their team is a threat, and even if you are able to construct this counter pick for topside to deal with Licorice, Jensen just goes wild.
Well, Cloud9 clearly better in 4 of the 5 roles and maybe closer to a wash on the top lane. Either way, to hear more about that C9 victory, let's send it over to the State Farm analyst desk.
Thank you, Freak. C9 out the gates hot with a victory over Afreeca Freecs, and it was a dominant one at that. From minute 0 to game close, there was action upon action. Before we get into the gameplay, I do want to look at this draft, though, because we talked about coming into the day, C9, the innovators. They're the ones who are playing the Heckrams, the Zillions, and what would the response be out of Afreeca? Not to be outdone, Afreeca says, we can innovate ourselves, and they pull out the Victor top in response to the Aatrox.
I will say innovation also comes with a high amount of risk.
Yes, it does.
It's actually, as they mentioned, the Kassadin that was the failure of innovation here, because I actually am terrified of the top lane Victor throughout the rest of this series. I thought it was a good pick into Aatrox. Overall in this draft, Cloud9 went all in on the early game, and they scored. They got it.
And I want to double down on that Kassadin point, because I agree. Because while you look at Afreeca, they went for that controlled style, they went for the late game, you see all of these scaling options. By having the Kassadin there and by having Victor go a Q-Max, you don't have a ton of wave clear options there, especially not with all of the dive threat and potential onto a Xayah. So you're basically looking at the combined wave clear of like Gragas and Xayah. So you see a full early game draft, you know that you're scaling, you don't have any wave clear, and wave clear is like the crux of if you fall behind and maybe they get a Baron, hey, at least we have that Orianna in the mid lane, or some sort of big wave clear that we could just stall out. Without any stall options, Afreeca literally just got steamrolled. That was like a 10K gold advantage at like 22 minutes in the game.
But I think what Afreeca were expecting was not this Cloud9. Like, when you look at how they...
This was a Cloud9 in Group B?
Yeah, but to me, like, the fact that Sneaky and Zeyzal were a bot lane that were not finding 2v2 kills, that they prioritized things like Xayah and were losing lane. They went on Kai'Sa and would just gracefully fall behind. The fact that he drafts Lucian Braum and then they dumpster them in the 2 versus 2, I really don't think that Afreeca were expecting this bot lane to show up like they did.
For me, my issue is that I didn't expect this Afreeca in a best of 5, and now I'm just ready to sail ship.
Right, I can see logic if Afreeca believes the Victor wins, as we kind of saw it do in the isolated 1v1, and believing that their 2v2 bot lane would win. Of course, that not being the case, the map fell apart very quickly for that squad.
Yeah, it certainly did, and I loved the way in which the Victor came out. We did see the runes in-game and just on your screen. I think that we were talking behind the scenes about how it worked and how in the 1v1 match it was actually holding its own, but that didn't really matter when Cloud9 were just forcing plays all across the board.
Yeah, Jensen actually got the Kassadin flash before the gank, which is why the gank then worked, but I have to credit Spirit actually for a really clever early game. Almost every Predator Gragas clears 3 camps, goes boots, and buys Predator, but Spirit pulled both of these ganks off pre-Predator, which is why C9 was positioned so aggressively in the lane. However, the controlled style of Afreeca Freecs went very quickly out the window when Cloud9 consistently forced plays on the map.
Yeah, and Cloud9 making excellent cross-map plays, as well as the fact that they capitalize on all the poor individual decisions from Afreeca. Why were they even trying to fight that blue? You have a scaling composition, and you're literally dying 1v1 in mid, 1v1 in bot, getting dove up into the top side. There was no reason to approach that.
and then Tucson, it just ties into what you're talking about with terms of individual mistakes for us. There were a number of them on the side of Afreeca, and it just kind of was made even worse given the fact that C9 was just playing so well across the board.
I feel like press F to pay respects to Korea. This was like mental boom on every position, save for the jungle.
I mean, it didn't look pretty, right? And that's why
It was brutal.
But the fact that it does come down to just maybe a few individual mistakes is actually why I'm not ready to say it's all over for Afreeca just yet,
I mean,
right?
Dash, Korea has won the last 5 World Championships. Misfits last year didn't take an SKT. Cloud9 lost games 4 and 5 against WWE last year. I've gotten excited many, many times for.
This is my point, Frost. You're so ready to disavow Afreeca. It's only one game.
That
Two NA guys.
I did pick C9 on the series, but I am not getting excited yet. That was That was a very good game 1 with a very well executed early game draft.
I agree.
And it can just be that. Like, we can just wait until
Right, exactly. Vedius, one of your concerns around Cloud9 was the fact that they're prone to make mistakes or overreach, maybe push a little too far where they shouldn't. And so my question to you is, what, if anything, did this game 1 do to maybe alleviate some of those fears around Cloud9 in this best of 5?
Well, after they got all those early kills and early advantages, I was looking at how they closed the game out, and in particular how they set it for the Baron. And when we look at how they actually set this play up, one of the cool things that they recognize is they don't have a frontline tank. So as you notice, as they started off, they have to peel away because as a 2-man, they can't actually clear this one out. Instead, what they need to do is find control in the enemy jungle and look for a pick. That's why they so hard commit onto Tucson, one of the primary engage tools from the side of Afreeca. So after finding this pick, they go back, but again, they keep Jensen in the jungle because what they need to do is have this threat, have this pick potential ready, because this comp, even though they're this far ahead, they don't want to run the risk of going for that 5v5. They're much better off just using the individual gold lead to find these kind of punishes. And this was, with the composition that they had, the perfect Baron setup. And for me, this gives me so much more confidence for this Cloud9 squad.
But yet you keep saying not to just override on Cloud9. I'm seeing individual mistakes from Afreeca. I'm seeing wonky drafts from Afreeca.
True.
Great Baron setup from Cloud9 and individual clutch pop-offs from Cloud9.
But we saw those from G2 yesterday in Game 2, and then Game 3 they got
that
whitewashed by RNG. But my point is that while this is great from Cloud9, something you said at the beginning of the day was consistency. And for Cloud9, that is something that they found at parts during the regular season, but they ended up getting 3-0'd in the final. And while they look good right now, and I am optimistic and I am confident, and I am happy for North America, I am not yet ready.
Doesn't sound like you're happy.
I'm not yet ready to jump on the Cloud9
I'm not convinced either just yet. I'm going to wait for the rest of the games to play out. MasterCard player of the game is going to Jensen on that LeBlanc pick. Rather, as you said, Jat, from level 1, level 2, blowing that flash to get the snowball rolling.
Yeah, I think Sneaky and Zazel played a great game. I think Svenskeren had solid ganks, but this was a vintage Jensen bodying of fools.
Yes, it was.
Because after he got that first gank kill that he burned the flash on, he never relented. That's at least 2 solo kills. I think he had 3 solo kills in this game on the block.
Something like that.
Just a menace throughout the whole game.
And Jensen is so much one of those players where it matters about how he is feeling on that day, and he will play to, to that feeling. It can be bad, it can be good, and today it seems like he's feeling it.
These EU mids, man, what can we say? Like,
let us have this, Vedius.
Nah, he has
never played in Eagles.
You had to throw it in there, but props to Jensen. He had a fantastic performance. My eyes are on him to be a big carry in this series.
Very much so. Game 1 is in the books. C9 kicks off the quarterfinals with a win. We'll see what Afreeca Freecs has prepared for Game 2 when we return.
Mid lane.
The flash in the mid lane going for Kuro right away. He can't get away from the chain. Ignite is on, and first blood for Jensen under 3 minutes. Nice flash for the body slam. Beautiful play for Spirit.
Spirit on the Gragas just went
He's
for
not
an
6. Tucson's really low. This could be a dive and a kill, and he's got him. Look at the mid lane now again. Kuro has flash this time, gets away from it. Ignite is there. Mid lane the chain. One more auto. That should be it with Ignite, and he takes him down.
He's tagged. Coming down, I'm coming down for the fight. I'm behind. I'm fine. Yep. I'm here. Good shit. I'm sweeping here. Doing this mission. Oh, nice. I'm gonna take turret.
How much can Afreeca be pushed away from this one? His health bar's getting a little bit lower, but look at that explosion! destruction. Kino's already dead. Afreeca trying to survive, but their base can't run away. It can't heal, and the attacks come through, and the 3 surviving members of Cloud9 will take game 1.